Welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is my feature author of the month of May. He is award winning and best selling author, no other than Mr. Michael Farris Smith.
Daniel, thank you for having me.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Michael. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
I can. Michael Farris Smith, my eighth novel, Lay Your Armor Down, is coming out on May the 27th. I live in Oxford, Mississippi, which is known for its writers, including a Mr. William Faulkner and other writers like Willie Morris and many over the years. And I have two daughters and I have a wife, and I, work really hard, and love talking about books and art, and I play in a band, and I've made a couple of movies. So, I try to stay busy.
Busy, busy indeed. And Mr. Michael, thank you so much for sharing your award winning and best selling piece to the world. You are an award winning and best selling author. What does this recognition mean to you personally and professionally?
I think mostly it's validation. You spend so much time alone in this business, and being alone and being solitary, I think, allows a lot of doubt to creep in, which I think, the more I go along, pretty much any artist I meet, whether it be a writer, a musician, an actor, whatever, doubt is just something you're constantly battling against. So to be recognized and to have some luck, and to have people say nice things about your work, I think it's validating more than anything for me. It's almost more of a relief, like a chance for me to just breathe and realize that, I think my time spent alone and my time spent with my dedication to my work is worthwhile.
Truly validation, people. So, which of your achievements are you most proud of and why?
That's a really good question. That's like when people ask me which of my books is my favorite, and I'm like, that's trying to, say which one of your children is the favorite. You love them the same, but you love them for different reasons. I would have to novels, Desperation Rough Fighter, made into movies, in which I was not allowed to, but I wrote the script adaptations, and then, was there and watched them done. And just so many things have to happen for a film to get made in the indie world these days. It's a very, very difficult thing. And then, like when you write a novel, you sit in a room alone, and then it's like you and your agent, or maybe you and your editor, but it's a very small collaborative of people. But when you make a film, there's so many people involved. And when you're on set, there's so many people involved, and just see so many people pulling together for something you've created in an effort to make it the best that we can possibly make it is a very rewarding thing. So to get two of those to the finish line, I think is probably the thing I would say I'm most proud of.
Indeed. Did you always know you wanted to be a writer, or was there a pivotal moment that set you on this path?
I did not know. In fact, growing up, I was an athlete. I played baseball and basketball, and that's really all I cared about. And I went through college, and I was never really interested in much. And then what happened for me was when I was 25 or 26 years old, I ended up living abroad. I lived first in Geneva and then in Paris, and traveled around Europe quite a bit. And during that time, I noticed people on the trains and sitting in the cafes and sitting in the park reading. And, this was pre-cell phones, thank God. And I had time to fill. So I started searching out English language bookstores, thinking, well, maybe I'll try that too. what I discovered was, really reading. And I really love stories. And, my mother's a school teacher. So, I grew up in a very literate household, and I was around stories and reading, but never really embraced it. But at that period in my life, for whatever reason, the reading just really kind of saturated into me. And, because I wasn't that great a student and didn't pay that much attention, I only knew like names of literature, so I could find an English language bookstore. I would go and get anybody like Hemingway and Faulkner and Charles Dickens and those types of writers. It turns out, those are pretty good writers, to be reading. And so that's where I kind of cut my teeth. And after 3 or 4 years of that, I was getting ready to move back to Mississippi, and I was 29, 30 years old. And for some reason, I just thought, maybe I want to try this myself, having no idea what that really meant. I mean, I had no clue what it would mean to like sit down and try to write, but I like knew something that was being in me, and I wanted to do it. And it was the first time in my life that I felt confident about trying anything. And I just started finding that I loved, writing as hard as I could, doing whatever I could to try to get better. I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I had no idea how long it was going to take. And I think I'm very fortunate that I didn't, that I was very naive into the process, because I would have probably, quit. If somebody would have told me, yeah, you're 30 and you're starting to write, and you'll be 40 before you publish your first novel. That's 10 years, man. And so, it was a lot of ups and downs, but everybody comes to it in a different way. And I just had to go. I really had to go down a road that took me far, far away from home, kind of to get me in a place where I could sit and look and kind of decide and figure out what it was I wanted to do.
Indeed, people, it's not too late if you have the passion to write. How do you handle the pressure that comes with high expectations after winning awards and hitting a bestseller list?
Well, that's also a very good question. I think the thing I've been fortunate in my career is that I have had editors that I've worked with who really allow me to do what I want to do, and they allow me to create like I know my style is kind of a specific style, but they've embraced that and kind of let it be. So I think part of dealing with that pressure is that when I do sit down to write a novel, is that I know that my editor is going to just let me be Michael Farris Smith, and he's going to be worried about being something else or trying to pigeonhole me into a market or into a trend. So I've had the liberty to truly sit down and write the novel that I want to read and nothing else. Because I'm, when you're a writer, you are your first audience. I am my first audience, and the only thing I ever try to do is write the novel that I want to read. So, but I think having an agent and an editor who support that, and having an audience, I think also who has supported that, has really helped me deal with the pressure and the doubts of it, because at the end of the day, that really helps me just trust myself, which I think is really important. Trust your instincts and kind of trust your gut,
Indeed, trust your gut, people. And Mr. Michael, was there a particular book or moment in your career that you consider your big break?
There was a moment. It wasn't the book necessarily, but it was the moment. My very first book is called The Hands of Strangers, and it was a novella. And it was published by a very small press in North Carolina. And I basically gave it away, which was fine. I was just excited that it was going to be published and it was going to be reviewed. But in the process of The Hands of Strangers coming out, I had started writing Rivers, which ended up being my first, big novel. And what happened with The Hands of Strangers was the editor of that very small press sent the book to Publishers Weekly for review, and Publishers Weekly gave it a starred review. And at that point in my career, I didn't have an agent. I was still trying kind of to break through on a bigger level. And when I had that starred review in my hand, now when I started reaching out to agents with Rivers, I could say I've published a novella and I have this starred review from Publishers Weekly, and that opened a lot of doors for me. Instead of no thank you, I started getting yes, let us see what you've done. And it was very quick from that moment to the moment that Rivers was sold and became kind of the book it was. And it basically jump-started my career from henceforth on. Just that one little moment where the editor of that very small press in North Carolina, submitted that little book for review. And we were lucky enough to get the star review. And I think I really look at that as the moment where the door started open for me. And also it gave me a tremendous amount of confidence, I think, which at that point I really needed.
You nailed it, Mr. Michael. What's your secret to creating books that resonate so deeply with readers and critics alike?
Oh boy, that's another very good question. I think it goes back to what I was talking about a little bit before with I've really had the liberty to write the novel that I wanted to write and tell the story that I wanted to write. Because if I'm writing a novel, if I'm writing a story and I'm not really emotionally engaged with it to the point where like I can't sleep and, constantly thinking about it. And by the time I get to the end of it, I'm emotionally exhausted, like just really takes me some weeks kind of to get over it, And I think if I feel a story that way, I just feel like there's a decent chance and there's a good chance that the readers are going to engage with it on the same level. And perhaps the critics will engage with it on the same level. I think it's Robert Frost who said, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. And I, understand that sentiment exactly. If it's not hurting me and if it's not challenging me and if it's not taking me to places that are foreign to me and make me uncomfortable, then it's not going to do that for the reader. So hopefully it's just that me sharing, me kind of reaching down for that in the writing of it. And then that, becoming part of the reader's experience as well. It comes across hopefully as something very real and true and emotional and hard worn, I think is a good way to put it.
Very well said, Mr. Michael. Very well said. How do you balance writing for commercial success versus artistic fulfillment?
I think the artistic fulfillment comes first for me and always has, and then whatever comes after is just kind of a benefit of what's happening. I don't think about commercial success. Maybe I should think about it more. I don't know. I don't really think about audience. I don't really think about any of that. For me, it's the being just really true and really faithful and really organic to the story I'm trying to tell, and whatever comes after that, just comes. But I'm not naive. Like, I realize some ideas are bigger than others. With Rivers, I realized it's kind of a dystopian story based on climate change. Nick is the prequel, the backstory of Nick Carraway, up to the moment he meets Gatsby. Those ideas have bigger commercial potential. But also, I think I tell those stories in the same way that I tell, like, The Fighter or Blackwood, the really Southern Gothic stories, too. And, like, for instance, Lay Your Armor Down as well, which feeds off the Rivers world. I tell them all, I think, in the same way. I think once you start trying to figure out the market and the audience, then you're really getting yourself into trouble. Like that's nothing you can't control. It's up for other people to dictate. It's other people's jobs. I always say, I think you just do the best you can, or at least I just do the best I can, and I let the reaction to it just be what it is. And I think all you can do is hope for the best.
Hope for the best, indeed. So, what's the hardest part of maintaining excellence as a best-selling author?
Well, I always thought the hardest part would be breaking through, but I think the hardest part is actually staying here and maintaining a certain level. Every time I sit down to write a novel, I want it to be the best thing I've ever written. I can say that for every day I sit down to write, I'll just do more than I've ever done. And after 15 years of this, that's it feels like a lot of weight, but it's not. I think it's just me expecting things out of myself. So I think, honest to God, the hardest part is me in competition with myself, really. And I think that will always be the hardest part, because no one's going to judge me harder than I judge me.
Totally agree. How do you handle negative reviews or criticism, especially for achieving acclaim?
I think you handle it the same way you handle a great review, right? Like you see it, and you just take it for what it is. I have to say that as time goes on, I read less and less reviews. I used to, first couple of books would really have my eyes open and ears perked up for whatever came along, but I think I do it less than I did. But it's art, right? Like when I watch a movie, or you watch a movie, or we go to an art gallery, like we see things we like and we see things we don't like based on our taste and our experiences and just who we are. So I also realize that's what it is, and it can also be the mood you're in, for that matter. I've read books when I haven't been in a great place in my life and thought I didn't really like it, and then I've reread them years later when I was maybe in a better place and interpret them very differently. So I think I take a bad review the same way I take a good review, which is I don't think about either one of them very long.
Mr. Michael, have awards and accolades changed the way you approach writing?
I don't know if they have really changed the way I approach writing. Writing for me, it's always been a way for me to engage with what I see and hear and feel. It's a very personal thing, I think, which something be so personal to you to then be something that's publicly consumed can take a lot out of you. So when I sit down and work, and then when I'm working on a novel, and in those hours that I spend on that novel or that story, those are the best hours of my day. It's where I'm detached. I'm with myself. I'm with the world I'm creating, and it's very rewarding. Even in its most frustrating times, it's still rewarding because you walk around with it and you carry it. So I don't think any type of award or acclaim or anything would really change much of that. I think the first thing writing is always going to be for me and that personal experience, no matter what comes along.
Mr. Michael, what advice would you give to aspiring authors who dream of hitting bestseller lists or winning awards?
Well, the thing that changed my writing career was when I got very habitual about it, and I decided I'm going to work a little bit every day, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes. And I think, at the time when I kind of committed to that, I was still facing a lot of rejection. I was teaching full time at the time. I had two very young children. I had a wife whose job took her out of town a couple of nights a week. And it just finally hit me, like, if you're ever going to break through, you've got to really go to this consistently. And I got to where I would take my daughters to daycare in the morning, and I would immediately go sit down 30 minutes somewhere and just work before I had to go teach, or I had to go, run errands and be a daddy and pick up children from school and this and that and other. And that changed my writing career, because what I began to see was, even in working like 30 minutes every morning, Monday through Friday, at the end of 4 or 5 weeks, I would look up and the work accumulates. And all of a sudden you have several thousand words and you have something coming together. And when you work consistently, the work lives in your imagination and the tool stays sharp. And that's how my whole career has been ever since I adapted that habit. Consistency is the thing I would say. Make time. We all complain we don't have time. Everybody has 20 or 30 minutes a day to sit down and commit to putting some words on the page. And, that's how I got to where I am and talking with you right now, by committing to that.
Consistency, people, and stop procrastinating if you have the passion to write. And thank you for your advice, Mr. Michael. And do you have a dream, do you have a dream award, collaboration, or milestones you're still working toward?
Oh, that's another good question, Daniel. You're full of them. I've never. I think, quite honestly, my dream was to the point where I was writing for and not having to, teach or do some other job. And about 5 years ago, I got to that point, and I've been able to keep it going. My dream is to be able to keep that going from henceforth, and just to forever, for the rest of my working life, just to live in, the words and the stories. And if I can do that, then I'll be a happy man.
Well, we salute you for that, Mr. Michael. Very well said. If you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self before you first being success?
Well, it's easy to say now, but I think I would just say, don't worry. Don't worry. Just keep working hard. Just keep doing the best you can, and just don't worry. Which is the advice I would also give to anybody, now who's listening, who's starting out, or who's in the middle of it. Like, if you just keep working hard, and the universe will find a way to work with you. I look back on my writing career and all that time I spent in complete anxiety. And, on one level, I probably wasted a lot of energy with that. On another level, it also really stoked my fire and kept it burning. But I would also say that it affected me personally in ways that probably weren't very healthy. So I would say, if I could look at myself 15 or 20 years ago, I'll be like, you're doing the right thing. Don't worry. Just keep busting your ass and you'll be okay.
You're doing the right thing. Yes, indeed. Before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Michael, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 5th season, abstract poetry in 2nd season, and of course my book 101 review in its 5th season, comedy 101 in 2nd season. Food 101 in its fifth season, to Geography 101 and Love Letters in its third season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Michael, how do you define success now compared to when you first started writing?
I think I would define success, just to kind of piggyback on something I said a minute ago. I think I define success as when I wake up in the morning, my job is to go, make stories, either writing a novel or working on a script or, collaborating with people on some project. And I think as long as I can keep doing that, I'll feel very successful. Doesn't have anything to do with money. Doesn't have anything to do with numbers of copies sold. It has to do with me writing novels that are meaningful to me and hopefully meaningful to an audience, and therefore I get to keep doing it every day.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Michael Farris Smith, my feature author of the month of May, award-winning and best-selling author. Can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Yeah, and if all of my books and all the reviews and all the interviews and everything are at michaelfarrissmith.com, and Lay Your Armor Down comes out on May the 27th.
Yes, people, tune in. We're going to talk about our upcoming book of Mr. Michael. So, people, let's support Mr. Michael Farris Smith, because if you support him, more and more and more award-winning and best-selling novels to come. So, Mr. Michael, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much.
More to come, people. See you soon.